2. All right, welcome back in. This is the Catamount Chronicles, episode number 4, thanks to Sobu Stretch Yoga Company in South Burlington, just off Shelburne Road, and also the Strike Zone Academy, a baseball facility in Essex Junction. So it's an apt sponsor for today's guest. It is current Fairfield University baseball coach, former UVM baseball coach, the last coach in UVM history. It's Bill Currier. Bill, how are you?
Doing well, Brady. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. And you're someone that I've heard a lot about but never gotten a chance to talk to. I got to tell you, first off, though, your son, Bryce, a great hockey player at Norwich, I was actually the public address announcer for a few games at Kreisberg Arena, so there's a chance that you've heard my voice before.
I certainly have. I know your voice better than your face, and I'm sure you're proud to hear that.
How does that happen? How does a Division I baseball coach get a hockey-playing son? How does that happen?
Well, I actually played more hockey than I did baseball up until later in high school. So I was very interested in going to college to play hockey. So I got my boys playing hockey. I had a rink in my backyard, a big 80 by 40 with lights on it and plastic and 12-inch boards and steel goals that have been throwaways from UVM. So I got the boys skating young, and Bryce certainly had the most prominence. But all three played, and all three played travel hockey all over the place. So I've been in about every rink in the Northeast and Canada before I even got to baseball practice.
You know, I think that's so cool because, and especially in baseball, we'll talk about this, the specialization now of youth sports. People they get so pigeonholed into playing one sport, but you encouraged all of your kids to play more than one sport and to play them a lot and at a high level. How important was that for their development? How important is that for kids?
I think it really is. And in recruiting now for over 35 years, I've seen it diminish quite a bit. Yeah. And even when we get a kid that's committed to us a year or two out, the kid will call and say, Coach, I'm playing hockey or soccer or football or something. And I was thinking of not playing my senior year because I'm already committed to play Division I baseball. And I want to ask the question to you, should I bypass that year or should I play? And the answer every time is play, certainly. It's your last chance you're going to be able to play. It's an opportunity you can't get back. And the chance, if you're worried about getting hurt, well, you can get hurt doing anything. You get players tripping on curbs and running into fences or something. That can happen anytime. So play, enjoy yourself. And then when you get here in college, then you got one sport then.
You know, I don't know the ages of all your kids. I only know Bryce, and I know he was in college, a decade ago or close to a decade ago. You took the Fairfield job about a decade ago after UVM shut down. Was that a hard decision for you to leave the area knowing you had kids that were college age and going to play their own college sport? Was that hard for you?
Yeah, it was. But, Norwich isn't right here in Burlington.
Right.
So we didn't miss too many hockey games. As George Como would attest, I'd bother him every time he was on the air. He wanted to talk to me, but not now, Bill. And so my wife and I came up from Connecticut very routinely, and we're at most all the games. Certainly at home, and even on the road, some of them were a little easier to get to than Norwich. So.
I coached junior college baseball for 2 years, and I coached Division III baseball for a fall before I got deep into radio. People don't realize that college baseball is not as luxurious as college football or college basketball when it comes to money in the sport, etc. How hard is the life of a college baseball coach? Because, I got so many friends have had to coach summer ball and had to coach youth leagues and coach this camp and that camp just to make a living, especially if you're not at the Division I level. How hard is that road?
It's a hard road. It's a fun road. I've enjoyed it. It was much easier to get started years ago. If you were a pretty good player or maybe an ex-pro player and you had aspirations to coach, you either tried to get picked up as a coach in the minors after you got released, or jump back to your college connections and try to get started that way. And that's the way I got started. Soon after I got released, I got into a graduate assistant program down at Western Carolina under Jack Leggett, who was my coach at UVM, obviously. And so I didn't miss a beat, and I went right through a 1 year full-time position as a grad assistant there. And that kind of launched me into getting started at a junior college, being a soccer coach, baseball coach, and taught 5 classes. So, and recruited for both sports. So it was wild and crazy for a couple of years, and then I got the University of Vermont job when I was 27 years old. So it's pretty tough to get going at 27 as a head Division I baseball coach. But I have 2 27-year-old assistants right now on my staff, and both have been coaching for 3 or 4 years, and very energetic, and it just isn't as easy. They might try to move into something in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, or when I choose to hang it up at some point, they may try to jump into my spot if they hang on long enough or show the right tools.
What makes college baseball so special? Because it is so different from the pro game.
It is. You certainly have a lot more off the field. You have student athletes. You have coaches in the minor leagues. The scouts bring them the players. Mm-hmm. All they do is take care of them once they arrive. In college, you got them from A to Z. You're watching them. You start recruiting them as a prospect, and we're recruiting maybe 75 to 100 names, and we whittle it down to maybe 6 or 8 that we might have in that class. And, so we're watching them up to 4 times. We're following them, talking to them, inviting them to campus. All these things are all around it before they even arrive. So we're all over the place driving. We're all over the place of checking kids and having them back to campus on a usual year. Brady, not this year, but and then we got them for not as much time. We have them for 3 or 4 hours a day, 1 day off mandatory a week, and it is a little bit different than the pro game, and we're interested in making sure they graduate, and we're evaluated on how we get them to graduate and through their baseball and academic year.
Between clothing orders and foods and hotel reservations and scheduling and all that, how much of the job is actually baseball? Like, what percentage is actually the thing that you really love?
I tell my assistants this all the time. I say, I wish 30% of this was my job was just baseball, but I'm fundraising also. I'm talking to alum. I'm going to lunch with alum that are helping us with our finances and pay for trips and things. It's a coach with many hats. And, we were looking for somebody to get us a recruiting car a few years back, and we just won the conference championship, and we were just coming back from a regional. And, I said, we got to rent these cars and this and that. And an alum stepped up and said, hey, you're going to have a car at your doorstep in 2 weeks. And wow. So all these things, you got to keep your machine moving and make it a little easier for your assistants or yourself, and set yourself up. So it's quite a bit different. You're exactly right than a pro game of worrying about what's just on the field at the time.
How challenging has this last 6 months been? I mean, you lose most of your season, play a handful of games, I imagine, in February and March, and then your season's canceled, and now you can't even do typical fall ball, I would imagine, because the MAC has suspended athletic competition. What are you even doing now?
Yeah, in March 11th, we were just about to start our last series in Florida on our spring break. We were going to play South Florida, a 3-game set. We just won the night before at Stetson, 7-4. Great game. Kids played tremendous. All pumped up. Drive across to Tampa from Central Florida, and we get the word that the season is done, and to get the first plane to head back. So it was a gut wrench there. A shot to the stomach for our seniors, certainly. It was difficult for them to handle, but as all the sports started to fold, and pro sports and amateur sports, they had a very mature outlook on the difficulties of the world and what was going on, the pandemic, and they are very mature about it. They felt awful for themselves, but they had bigger disappointments in the world they could see, and they were very mature about it and handled it very well. For us coaches, Brady, we've been on lockdown for recruiting since that time, and we're extended through the end of September. So we're watching a lot of video. We are trying to analyze kids through video and talking to them on the phone and doing all this way. And we've kept up, but certainly not as comfortable.
How do you even handle your current players in that time? I imagine some of them can play in the summer, some of them can't play in the summer, some of them are playing better competition, some are playing worse competition. How do you even handle your current players?
Yeah, we really, our coaching staff did, I felt, a tremendous job with staying in touch with our players and keeping them engaged. We through the online classes they were taking in April and early May. Soon after that, we had Zoom sessions. We had Kirk McCaskill, ex-UVM pitcher and teammate of mine and good friend of mine. He came on and did 2 Zoom sessions with our team. Talked to the pitchers first, and then he talked to the whole team just about the little steps you need to have the right attitude and the right skills. And, it was a great session for our players just to hear them. And we had the Mets video analyst guy that was friends with our pitching coach come on and talk about with our pitchers just about analyzing their motions and things. We had the Brewers scout come on and talk to our team. Jack Leggett came on and talked to our team about success, building a successful athlete. We had alumni come on. We had alumni sessions with our players. We had all this going on. We had Bobby Tewksbury, my ex-shortstop at Vermont. He's one of the big league hitting instructor and is launching a new video analysis of a hitting software down in Austin, Texas. He came on. We had our players engaged and kept them thinking baseball, learning about the game for 2.5 months. And it was tremendous because our kids, remember, they couldn't start summer baseball until about the first week of July. So they had a few months there where there was a lot of dead time.
Well, you mentioned Kirk McCaskill played hockey and baseball at UVM, got to the majors. He was the guy who gave up the back-to-back homers to Griffey Sr. and Griffey Jr. If I ever get him on, am I allowed to ask him about that, or is that a sore spot?
He's got a good humorous side to him, so I would take a shot at it, Brady. I would be very careful with the backlash, but he is a competitive golfer now. I played with him, and he's won a couple championships at his club and outside San Diego. But he is reminded of that often by his friends. So no worries.
Maybe I'll make it the last question just so it ends the interview no matter what's going to happen. So we're talking with Bill Currier, former UVM baseball coach, current Fairfield baseball coach on the Catamount Chronicles, episode number 4. It's all thanks to the Strike Zone Academy baseball facility in Essex Junction. You can get a free evaluation of your baseball skills there. I can be the guy who gives you that free evaluation. Just mention. Yeah, just former JUCO pitching coach and D3 washed-up pitcher. So there you go. I've been doing lessons over there for a while. And Coach, you'll appreciate this. It's a great facility. It's got all the new bells and whistles from the analytics side of things, but your traditional batting cages rent out the facility as well. As someone who is certainly invested still in Vermont and wants the game to grow in Vermont, how important is a place like this to growing the game here in the Green Mountain State?
I think it's very important because it extends the season of the players, of the youth, of the baseball youth in the area, not just the area. I think there's kids come from ways away. We did a holiday clinic there over 3 days, and actually my son Bryce took part in it. And we really worked the kids around through those tunnels and off the machines and the hit tracks and we had a great 3 days of sessions, and they were kind of a combination of the Strike Zone's kids, and it was a lot of my kids from my summer camps that I still do 2 weeks up here on most summers. Not this summer, but every summer for 40 years the Vermont Baseball School has been running. Actually, it started with Jack Leggett, and I've had it for over 35 years. So it's
you
doing well.
You talk about playing for Jack Leggett, and he's going to come on an episode here in a few weeks. You played for him at UVM. Who are the guys, I guess, besides Coach Leggett, who have impacted your coaching career? Who are the guys that you have really drawn from?
Well, certainly he was my after high school. He was my college coach, and he was a phenomenal infield instructor. And that's when I played first base, so I got to really listen and be schooled by him as an infielder. And then my last year, the scouts wanted me to get in the outfield. And as I tell Leggett, I said, you'd think a good coach would have noticed that a year or two before and got me out there, because I could not only I was tall to play first, but I could run and throw. So I moved out there, and that's where I played the whole minor league experience. So
yeah,
it was great for my college coaching background of having Coach Leggett as an infield instructor, and then as a outfielder in the minors. And that's what you want to do as a coach. Try to diverse yourself as much as you can in as many areas as you can, and then try to learn as much about recruiting and what you're looking for, and understanding your situation and making sure the right fit you're going after and things. So, but Coach Leggett was the mentor to start that all rolling. So
you get the job, you said, at 27, certainly young to be a D1 head coach. What was it like sharing an athletic department with Tom Brennan and Mike Gilligan? Two legends, two guys that certainly, at least in Brennan's case, big personality. What was that like?
Yeah, you always gave the mic to them first, and you always took a back seat to any time you were in public. That was the key. The key was certainly Brennan. And I think Coach Gilligan, who's still, both of them are good friends of mine still, and I'm in contact with. Coach Gilligan always understood that from day one also. So they were certainly two good guys, two team players, and always fun to be around.
What were the expectations like at UVM? I mean, I've been around. I grew up in Albany, so I know Coach Mueller at UAlbany. I know Coach Rossi at Siena. The expectations at northern schools at mid majors are never as high as they are in the SEC or the Big 12 or whatever. What were the expectations like at UVM?
Yeah, certainly. Speaking of Tony Rossi, I just can't shake the guy.
I know he won't go anywhere
here. And now he's in my conference, and we talk all the time and heckle each other. So he's probably only got another 20 years till he's 110 before he hangs it up. But he's doing well. It was expectations when I got here was hey, let's just try to recruit Vermont kids, and let's try to win games, but let's make sure they graduate and don't get in trouble, and give them a good experience, Bill. That's the way it was. And then we became to be a pretty good team. And then we started to be one of the top 4 teams in New England. And then we started to win games, and we won the conference regular season championship twice. And this was all with 0 scholarships from the school. So This was a little bit exceeding expectations. And I think the alumni started to press a little bit, and we started to get some big donors behind our program to help a little bit. And then soon after we were cut. But I think the kids that came through here had a heck of experience, had a lot of success, played on a great field, one of the better college fields in the Northeast. And I think that and it improved immensely. Thankful to Ray Pecor and the Lake Monsters. So we gave a great experience to a lot of Vermont kids and a lot of out-of-state kids that we were equally dividing kind of within the program.
We joke about Coach Rossi at Siena. I want to say it's 50 years that he's been the coach of that program. I think it's over 52, over 50. I think it might be 52 this next year. Would you have stayed at UVM your entire career if the program had stuck around? Would that have been you?
I definitely wouldn't be whatever his age is right now, still coaching. I'm not on that program, but I would have stayed. I would have stayed unless we had we were filled with sophomores, really talented sophomores, and in fact, one of them made it to the big leagues with Houston Astros, Matt Duffy.
Yeah.
So we really had a spectacular sophomore group on our team when we got cut, and we finished third in the league of that year. And we had a bumper group of guys coming in because we had just gotten some scholarship, 4.5 scholarship. So we spent that wisely, and we were going to be very, very good, I think, in the next couple of years. So, if something came out of that, maybe. But right now, Brady, I look back on and say, I was here for the duration and to build this program into a perennial power in the Northeast. And it doesn't matter if we're one of the more northern teams or not. We were successful. We had a great field. We had a great guarantees always set up to help alleviate our cost early in the year. And when we came back, we were always one of the better teams in the Northeast.
Podcast Catamount Chronicles, Episode 4, also brought to you by Sobu Stretch, a boutique yoga studio just off Shelburne Road in South Burlington. Promo code Brady5. You get $5 off your first class. They've got virtual classes. They got in-person sessions, 3 to 5 people only, everything being done safe, socially distanced, CDC guidelines. Again, you can do whatever you want as far as going in person or doing it virtually. Scott and Erica, they're the owners. They will take care of you. Just use the promo code Brady5, $5 off your first class. This question is for me only because not everybody knows who he is, but Brian Kane is a guy who used to play baseball at UVM, played for you. I met him once when I was coaching at Norwich. I've stayed in touch with him before. He's the guru of sports psychology, mental conditioning now. And he's one of my favorite people. He's had a bigger impact on my life than you would realize from only having actually met him one time. What was he like for you as a player? I just got to know.
Yeah. Brian wants to keep this on the low, kind of low key. But Brian was a perfect example of a player that didn't control his emotions, didn't control his actions. He overworked. And not too many times you have players that when you tell to do 25 pull to poles and running the outfield and get staying in shape, he'll do 100 because he thinks it's even better for him. So he was injured a lot because of breakdown, I think. He slowly matured into understanding the mental game a little more, and then he became obsessed with it and went to graduate school under Ken Revisa, and really took off from there. And Brian has talked to my team before. I know he's on call with a lot of teams, and Brian knows the way he was. And I compare him to maybe an alcoholic that now teaches AA meetings because he's been there, he's done that. And Brian has a great feel for that because he's kind of been there and done that. And he does a tremendous job.
Technical difficulty minor here with Bill Currier, so we'll get him right back. I'm talking about my guy, Brian Kane. So he's one of my favorite people, sports psychology guru. And Bill Currier mentioning that he went to grad school at Cal State Fullerton with Ken Revisa. Ken Revisa is kind of the original godfather of sports psychology. He's the guy who taught Brian Kane. I met him once at Cal State Fullerton. It was an unbelievable meeting for me. He has recently since passed, unfortunately. He was friends with Joe Madden. He did work with the Angels. He did work with the Rays as well. I think even when Joe Madden got the Cubs job, he was working there. So Brian Kane tells the story a lot that he was like the worst college baseball player in history because of what Bill Currier said. He just overworked. He was too hard on himself. And look, the reason why I identify with Brian Kane so much and identify with sports psychology so much because I was the same way. I wouldn't take a 25 laps and turn them into 100, but 25 laps was going to become 30, or a 20 pitch bullpen was going to become 30. And if something wasn't perfect, I was going to work until I got it perfect. And you just get inside your head so much that it drains you. And that's why I said that I've only met Brian Kane one time, but it's had more of an impact on my life than he should be for only having met him one time, because he taught me how to let go of things and how to just move on from things. And it happened in life as well. I want to bring back on Bill Currier now. We were finishing up to talk about Brian Kane. So I'll ask you this as a follow up, Coach. How important is the mental game? Because I was just telling the story about myself. While I wasn't like Brian was, I was somebody that was constantly in my own head. Like if I was going to bed the night before a start thinking, don't walk the leadoff guy. If I walk the leadoff guy, then he's going to steal second. Then I'm going to give up a double, and we're going to be down 1-0 instantly. So I was always in my own head in the worst way. How important is the mental game?
Yeah, it's very mental. Very, very important, the mental game, because of the downtime in baseball. The time to think about what you're going to do. And then it happens quick, and then you got to wait maybe another inning to get up, or another 2 innings, or another end of the game to get a ball hit to you. So there's a lot of time to think. So I think Brian has his place and does a great job in controlling your situation and not thinking about things you can't control. That's basically, I think there's a lot of things around that, but in baseball, a lot of things happen negatively, a lot of things that you can't control. And I think a lot of kids think about that. And I see it almost more so nowadays, and I've been at 2 very good academic schools, Vermont and Fairfield, and they're pretty smart kids. They're not always smart in baseball. They don't need to be thinking about things that doesn't concern them or doesn't have anything to do with them. So, we work a lot with this mental game, and I think it does help train the mind as well as the body to work in cohesion with each other and not worry about things you can't control.
Well, I've talked to Matt Duffy before. I've talked to Owen Ozanich before, guys who played for you at UVM. They were there the day the program was shut down. I'll just ask you what are your memories of that day? How hard was it being in that meeting that day?
Well, it was certainly a lead up, because we knew we were going to be suspended, we'll call it, February 20th. And then we were leaving in a week to go to Vanderbilt to play a 3-game series. And then the next weekend, we were going to Mississippi to play a 3-game series against 2 SEC weekends. So that's what we had 10 days before we were dropped. So it was not an easy year. It was a very difficult year. We had coaches recruiting our players between doubleheaders, touring them around campus after our games. And, the best thing that happened is every one of our players but one, a transfer kid, decided to play and not sit out that year and not jeopardize a year of eligibility. So, and Matt Duffy had a broken hand. He missed the first 2 weekends. And he became the MVP in the conference that year without playing the first 10 games. His numbers were that good, and he was so talented. So, it was difficult.
As someone who knows athletic department budgets and knows recruiting and knows bad weather in the Northeast, etc., and just knows baseball in this area, I'll leave out all the administrative stuff. I'll just ask you, from a fan perspective, do you think that people in the community would support baseball being back at UVM? Ignore all the budget and all that stuff.
Absolutely. It's survived here for 100 years, and there's a lot of other teams that playing Division I baseball, even an ACC team down in Boston. So, and every team in the Northeast goes south for the first month of the season. So it's nothing that's out of the ordinary in creating another successful program in this location. And the hardest thing to do whenever you bring a program back or something is facility. You can get donors to support a team or something for a little bit and help with the department's financial means. But building another facility after a program's been gone for years is the most difficult thing. I was playing against UNH, New Hampshire, when they got cut. And they built, I believe, a library on their field. The field was gone. Our field is still one of the best college fields in the Northeast. and it is UVM owned. It's just leased by the Lake Monsters. So, and that field has grown steadily better and better and better through through Ray Pecor for years now. So that's the most difficult thing, because that's millions of dollars to sink into a field to bring it up from scratch. And we have a beautiful facility right here that's right on property. So that's the most difficult thing. Not, just bring the operating budget back is another issue, but I think it's a lesser issue than the field itself.
I'm worried about the future of the Lake Monsters. I'm worried about minor league baseball in general because of the agreement's going to run out at the end of the year, and the short season A-ball teams are the ones that are on the chopping block, and I could see the Lake Monsters going away because they don't want to have short season A-ball, so therefore they're not going to be full season because the weather is so bad, etc. I hope I'm wrong on that. If the Lake Monsters did go away, how bad would that be for baseball in this state?
I think it would be tough to have that example of high level baseball for these young kids to see. I think that the kid that goes to the game at 5 or 6 or 8 years old remembers that, and it keeps them engaged, and it keeps them in their leagues, and it keeps them with that dream alive. I think, by losing that team, that's the lineage that you're going to lose, I think, and that's detrimental to the game of baseball in not just Chittenden County, in the whole northern New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire. That all frequented the games and came to camps in the summer. This camp, the Vermont Baseball School, as I said, has been running for 40 years. We got kids of kids that are now coming to that camp.
Yeah.
Not, of course, when I've been there, Brady, but but these are things that we're going to lose if we lose that facility and that team. Because I think if we lose the team, I don't know how it's going to be kept up.
Well, I'll get you out of here on this. You've coached a lot of good ones. You've coached against a lot of good ones. Let's see. You're up 3-2 in the 9th inning. Who's the guy coming to the plate for the other team that you least want to see coming up? Because I guess, best hitter you've seen in college baseball. Who's the guy that would put the most fear into you in that situation?
Yeah, 2 hitters. Certainly Carlos Pena for Northeastern. He had 4 home runs off his year. He was the #1 pick. And Kevin Mensch, a kid at Delaware that made it up for, I think, 6 or 7 years or longer with the Rangers. And
one of my favorite guests of all time, Kevin Mensch.
Kevin Mensch, yeah. He hit a ball off the back of the press box at Centennial that I think bounced back to second base. It was so hard. But
man.
Those two guys weren't bad. Matt Duffy was his sophomore year that he was the MVP in the America East. He was pretty special too, and he was still only a sophomore. So I think he would have been probably owned a lot of records and probably been one of the best players ever to come through.
Well, Bill Currier, episode 4 of the Catamount Chronicles in the books, thanks to the Sobu Stretch Yoga Boutique Yoga School in South Burlington, just off of Shelburne Road, and also the Strike Zone Baseball Academy in Essex Junction. Great deals just by mentioning this podcast. Continue to follow me on social media to learn more about those. Coach Currier, now the coach at Fairfield. He's taken the Stags to the NCAA tournament before. And, Coach, we look forward to seeing your guys on the field again safely. And thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Brady.